Welcome to the Line Life podcast. I'm Jeff Postlethwaite, senior editor of T&D World, and today we're bringing you more stories of the grit, courage, and inspirational teamwork that it takes to be a line worker.
Hi, my name is Amy Fishbach, field editor for T&D World magazine. Thank you for tuning in to the Line Life podcast. For this episode in our In Case You Missed It series, I'm featuring the article Training on the Line from the February field-focused electric utility operations section in T&D World magazine. This article is titled Training on the Line. A Nebraska mom defies odds and pursues a career in line work. It was written by Todd Pfeil of Northeast Community College, and it's narrated by me, Amy Fishbach. Brittany Grammer packs up her climbing gear, tosses her hard hat into the passenger seat, and pulls away from Northeast Community College in Norfolk, Nebraska. The 36-year-old mother of four, the only female in her class of 48 future utility line workers, makes the hour-and-a-half commute back to her home in Cedar Rapids, Nebraska. She greets her family and cares for her pets: 7 cats, 2 dogs, 4 birds, 2 turtles, and 3 chickens, and logs into work for her employer in Baltimore, more than 1,200 miles away. Grammer works remotely full-time, designing under and above-ground power infrastructures for a Maryland utility provider. With a certification in computer-aided drafting, she can read plans and plot electrical lines located halfway across the country from the comfort of her home office. But by the time she graduates with her associate's degree in drafting and utility line from Northeast Community College, she'll be qualified to work in the field and 80 feet up in the air. I occasionally replace utility poles at my job, but I always like the idea of being out in the field, going out and fixing something myself, she says. As a designer, you're a little limited. You pretty much draw the pictures. If I design it, I might as well be qualified to go out and fix it. She dreams of one day being on call for storm duty, traveling to the site of natural disasters like hurricanes, tornadoes, and snowstorms to restore power. Not that I like the idea of storms happening and people having to suffer, but I like the idea of fixing something, especially in emergencies, she says. You have to think on your feet and be able to adapt to any situation that arises. I like to think I'm pretty level-headed in a crisis. Getting her start. A military kid born in Germany and raised in Lincoln and Grand Island, Nebraska, her family moved to Maryland when she was 10 years old. She studied automotive in high school as part of her magnet program, early evidence of her mechanical learnings, but decided to pursue healthcare after graduation. She earned her Certified Nursing Associate CNA license and worked in a hospital for 7 years. I decided I needed to change the pace, she said. A lifelong knack for drawing inspired her to earn a drafting certificate in Maryland. With no on-the-job experience but glowing referrals from a drafting instructor, she landed her first job in utilities. Today she spends most of her time designing underground electrical cable replacements. Beyond spatial awareness and computer skills, her job requires attention to detail, ensuring local standards are adhered throughout the building process. When I was getting started, I was not at all familiar with utilities, she said. But the more I work with them, the more I fell in love with electricity and really the whole distribution system, how it gets from one place to another. When COVID hit, she relocated her family back to Nebraska, where she grew up, to be closer to extended relatives. Fortunately, her employer agreed to let her work remotely. Back in Nebraska, it was only a matter of time before she learned about the utility line program at Northeast Community College, only 70 miles from her home in Cedar Rapids, Nebraska. Learning the trade. Established in 1978, the utility line program at Northeast is one of only 3 two-year utility programs in the nation. The program is comprehensive, starting students at the ground level, literally, and preparing them with everything it takes to succeed in what can be described as a high-demand, high-wage, physically challenging industry. Most utility line students begin the program as total novices, but graduate fully prepared to work in the industry, often with full-time jobs already lined up. During the training program, the students start with the basics: operating trucks, handling poles, climbing, and electricity fundamentals. In the second semester, the team adds more skills training. But after that, all Northeast utility line students leave for an internship with the State Electrical Association. Most of them may still be new to the trade when they first start their internship, but when they return, they are young utility professionals ready to go. as one of the Midwest's preeminent utility line programs, Northeast churns out many graduates who will make up the future workforce. The demand for utility professionals, including line workers, will only continue to grow. Thousands of professionals are needed just to keep up with the number who are retiring. Because retirement tends to happen early in the utility industry, those who retire need to be replaced. Many employers are lining up to get the graduates out of Northeast Community College. Dan Helbush, Vice President of Operations at Loop Power District, agrees. According to Helbush, a graduate of the utility line program, utility providers around the country need skilled workers. A significant portion of Loop Power District's new hires, he says, are Northeast graduates. For decades, the internship part of the program has been helping to supply our skilled workforce, Helbush says. We actually wait for Northeast interns to graduate before filling a position. These students arrive prepared and equipped with the necessary skills to make great utility workers. The industry's growing demand means ample financial and career opportunities for students willing to come aboard. That makes the utility line program at Northeast an appealing option, especially considering the cost-to-reward ratio. The program has a high return on investment, and the amount students can get back from the 21 months it takes to get from start to finish is substantial. For Grammer, the opportunity means something even more significant. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, only 4.1% of electric power line installers and repairers in the United States are women. She's breaking barriers and defying the odds in a field that traditionally has been dominated by men. She has never shied away from any of the challenges and is right there with the guys in her class, says her instructor. In fact, she's usually the first in line to go, working as a woman in line work. About 35 foot in the air, Grammer adjusts her climbing harness and feels the utility pole she is clinging to swaying softly with the wind. She looks out over a sea of classmates decked out in safety gear and hard hats, suspended in the air, blotting out a deep blue sky. Today is the softball game. To become acclimated to twisting, bending, and moving freely on the pole, she and her classmates toss each other a softball. The rules are simple. If you drop it, you must climb back down, shamefully of course, and start all over again. It seems tedious at first, but the more you do it, the more confident you become on the pole, Grammer says. She herself has grown comfortable with climbing. That's because her class tackled it in baby steps, just one step out on the first day of class, 2 steps the next day, and so on. Climbing is just one of the many physically demanding aspects of line work Grammer has grown accustomed to. Being a female, she says, has never made her back down. It's demanding work, but it's not something a girl can't do, she said. In fact, I think because girls have wider hips, we may even adapt to the physical toll of climbing a little quicker. Our anatomy helps out. A lot of the guys I climb with will complain about sore hips, but my feet start hurting before my hips ever will. One of her proudest moments was related to drafting when her class project was selected to represent Northeast at a home build showcase. The construction program students had built a house and were auctioning off for sale, she said. The drafting students each created a blueprint and 3D model of the home. My design was chosen to showcase for the open house. While at Northeast, she also earned her CDL, meaning she will eventually be able to drive utility trucks. That was the first time I ever drove a manual. I was pretty proud of myself for getting that, she said. She's currently working on her drone license so she can conduct aerial work. She's also an active member of Utility Line Club, Future Business Leaders of America, FBLA, and TRIO, a program for first-generation, low-income, and students with disabilities. I am incredibly proud to be a first-generation student in our family, Grammer says. When I graduated high school, I couldn't even afford a cap and gown. I want to set an example for my kids and show them that they can accomplish anything and that I'll always be there to support them. When she walks down the aisle in 2026, she'll be the first in her family to graduate college, but she'll also be one of only 3 women in Northeast history to graduate from the utility line program. Brittany is a go-getter, said her instructor. She knows she's one of a few women in a male-dominated career. There's no way she's letting that hold her back. I think it drives her. She said there's not a day that goes by when she says, I don't want to do this today. It's just really fun to be a part of this, to be involved, she said. I think a lot more women should do it. Todd Pfeil teaches utility line courses at Northeast Community College in Norfolk, Nebraska. A proud Northeast alumnus, Pfeil graduated from the utility line program in 2006. After 14 years working for a utility provider in Southeast Nebraska, he brought his hands-on experience to the classroom as an instructor in 2020. Lineworkers, if you want to learn more about women in the line trade, make sure you check out some of my recent profiles of apprentices and journeyman lineworkers in T&D World. For example, I recently profiled Lexi Bryant of Omaha Public Power District in our Faces of the Future department, as well as Melissa Daw of Connect Atlantic Utility Services. In addition, I highlighted Kendra Sesserin from Hydro One, Sydney Schultz from SAS Power, Raylan Hocko of Midlight Power Construction, and Jolene Cece of West Penn Power. These women were featured in our T&D World departments, Faces of the Future, and Lineworker Focus, and some were also included on our Line Life podcast. In addition, I also wrote a few feature articles about women in the line trade for T&D World. For example, back in 2021, I wrote an article for the Lineworker supplement called Women in Line Work. I profiled 6 female lineworkers with a love for the line trade and the drive and determination to get the job done. Those lineworkers included Renee Nichols of Portland General Electric, Corey Roosh of Hydro One, Lori Reese of Southern California Edison, Raylan Hocko of Ballard Construction, who now works for Midlight Power Construction, Paige Speets of Evergy, and Lana Norton of the Women of Powerline Technicians. And back then, I had listed 7 strategies for women to achieve success in the line trade. The first was to maintain a can-do attitude. We are only limited when we lose sight of this, Raylan Hocko says. Number 2, expect feelings of intimidation. It goes with the territory, she added. Number 3, always be a proactive team player. Number 4, keep a positive mindset. The reward will be many more highs than lows, she says. Number 5, be a reflection of change and an advocate for the profession. That will be your greatest success, she said. Number 6, go for it and be willing to travel, said Lana Norton. And number 7, know that the only person you ever need to compete with is yourself. It's on you to be better than you were the day before, Norton said. After I wrote that article, the BBC did a mini radio documentary on women in line work and profiled women from all over the world, and that inspired me to do a follow-up article called Training Women on the Line, which featured Susan Blazer, the first female line worker in Missouri, who worked for Kansas City Power and Light, which is now Evergy, and now is the lineman program coordinator at Metropolitan Community College in Kansas City, and her daughter, Randy Blazer, who is not only a line worker at Ameren, Illinois, but also has young twins. I also featured Joanne Ward, who's one of the early women line helpers in the trade and also wrote a book about her experiences. And also Alice Lockridge, who is an advocate for women working in the trades. These women were featured in the article and also in our Women on the Line podcast series, which you can listen to at linelife.podbean.com. And if you know of a line worker we should profile in our Faces of the Future department for apprentices or line worker focus department for journeyman line workers, please reach out to me. I'd love to highlight them in our magazine as well as in our podcast series. Every apprentice or journeyman line worker who is profiled gets a free tool package from Milwaukee Tool for their dedication to the line trade. You can reach out to me at amyfishbach@gmail.com with the name of the apprentice or journeyman line worker and a little bit about their background, and if possible, a photo of them working out in the field, and we'll put him or her in the spotlight. Thanks again for listening to the Line Life podcast.
This episode of the Line Life podcast was written, recorded, and edited by Amy Fishbach. It was produced by Jeff Postlewaite. That's me. To listen to past episodes, visit www.tdworld.com/podcasts or find us at Podbean. You could also drop us a voice memo or message at linelifepodcast@gmail.com with your comments on this episode. We'd love to hear from you. Please follow this show on Podbean or your favorite podcasting app to be updated when new episodes are released. Thank you for listening.